Hello and welcome to Fillmore Church, where we are uh, very much focused on the practical application of Christianity based on the teachings of Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, and also very much about putting Spirit first in our lives. My name is Steve Hayes, and it's my honor and privilege to give this talk today and be part of the slowly expanding transformation of Fillmore Church into the online experience. Well, with all things of consequence, let us begin with prayer. So I encourage you to relax in your seat, take a few deep breaths, focus your attention on the center of your being. Imagine the white light of spirit like a star in the center of your being. Connect with that and feel the light of that energy in you. Father, Mother, God, Spirit, we are so grateful for this community and this opportunity to learn and grow. We ask that our minds and hearts and our lives be open and like the wind, that you go through our minds and our hearts and loosen up what needs to be loosened. For we are here showing up, humble and eager to be greater expressions of Spirit. So thank you for all your infinite blessings. Amen. All right. This picture today, the background is from Boulder, Colorado. Again, up in the White Hills on the edge of Boulder. They can't quite see the hills there. Any announcements? Let me think. No big announcements other than we are going to have classes soon, which for now will be 100% online. And if you have a class that you want taught, please let me know because I want this to be a community thing and to match what the interests of the community are. As it stands, probably the first class will be a class in nonviolent communication, which is a very good thing to have for any community. All right. Let's go ahead and I'm going to play some music, and I encourage you just to relax, enjoy the music, imagine spirit running through you and just helping you become more present. And if you're watching this after the fact, I have to mute this song so that when I post it on Facebook, I don't get attacked by the social media gods. That was a lot of good life is good energy. I definitely enjoy the clothing that comes from that company called uh, Life is Good. Um, they were a very small clothing company that was struggling, but once they changed their name to Life is Good, boom! Now they're very, very successful. Okay. Today I have lots of slides in my sermon, so let's see how that goes. I'm getting better at it, hopefully better at it every single time. So last week we talked about love being the answer and how that was a vague statement, and so we went into detail and pointed out how it is the correct answer, and ultimately it is not vague. Today, we will continue down the spiritual path and explore a new adage. And that adage is true power is yours. Isn't that good? It's not anyone else's, it's ours. We all have true power. Um, of course, that is kind of another potentially vague statement. And if you took it at face value, it could just be trite. However, just like love is the answer, is the correct answer, this is true, even though it sounds like a General Electric slogan. But what do we do here with vague things at Fillmore Church? And I'm going to ask people here in the audience. So, what do we do at Fillmore Church? Yes, you in the back. Right. We break it down. Oh, and you, what do you do? Uh, yes, we test it. We test it in our own hearts. Okay, there's two more. Come on. You in the blue there. Yes, we apply it to the real world. One more. Okay, we apply it to the here and now. Thank you. Not the then and there, but the here and now. Thank you. Good job. Well done, everyone. So, the concept of true power yours is twofold. There's two aspects to it. Isn't that exciting? It's got to be more true because it has two folds. If it only had one fold, it's probably not going to be as epic if it has two folds. But I am serious. There's two aspects of this. And to truly manifest our spiritual power on earth, we need to do both these things. So let's break it down. And I love that concept of breaking it down because it reminds me of the 80s. I'm a child of the 80s and I was a DJ back in the 80s. And do you remember those little round things they used to play music on? And I remember how they'd scratch, and so if they were using today's title, it would sound something like true power. True power is yours, yours. Yip, yours. I miss that. But back to today. Uh, I get nostalgic sometimes. Let us start off with Charles Fillmore. Your thoughts create your reality. Change your thoughts, change your life. Very simple. Very simple, but very few people actually take advantage of this. And I'm going to tell you why people don't take advantage of it. But I do appreciate that the Fillmores, and here at Fillmore Church, we emphasize that we need to take responsibility for our lives and experience. Don't blame the outside, but take responsibility for your experience. The principle here is, what if, no matter what is happening in the world or in your life, you could change it instantly with a snap of your fingers? Um, Kind of like back in the day. Do you remember Bewitched? I'm aging myself here again. The TV show about this wife who was um, she was a witch and she could change anything by just wiggling her nose. So that's what I'm here today, is that we all can just wiggle our nose and change reality by actually changing our thoughts. Let me give you an example. I've heard people say something along these lines. Yeah, I I'm not sure if I can make that career change right now. The industry is so tight, and I am an older applicant, so I'm not sure if I can do it. Watch this. I know I can make this career change. It is what I am passionate about, and no one is ever too old to begin again. Uh, two different approaches, but how powerful the difference. And I use this example because Marshall Charles Fillmore often uses this example when he says, "You are never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream. Age should never be a barrier to fulfilling your purpose." You have to decide to embrace the other thought. It's your choice to switch your thoughts. Here at the Fillmore Church, we are part of what I would say is the New Thought movement, which arguably you could say is mostly about how we can change our thoughts and change the world. Um, Again, the best example is Myrtle Fillmore, who instead of saying, "Oh, I'm sick and I'm going to die," said, "I do not inherit illness," and healed herself for the rest of her life. But to be clear, I am not talking about ignoring the reality in front of us. I'm just talking about changing our attitude to what's happening and owning our responsibility for our attitude. Personally, I've changed my career twice since I turned 50. And my thoughts never changed the industry, but it enabled me to have faith and do it. And I'm so glad both those careers I'm very appreciative of. I have friends that when they turn 30, they already start talking about, oh, my body's just breaking down and I can't do as much as I could. Oh, OMG. Oh my gosh. Never say anything that you don't want to manifest. I live by that. I'm 59 and I'm grateful that I can pretty much do anything I want. I am unlimited. So I declare, and so I take care of myself. As a kid, I grew up in a spiritual community where they emphasize this, that you could just change your reality with a snap and just by making a decision, and decision meaning cutting away from a possibility. And as a kid, I hated this because I didn't believe it. And as I was never an adult in that community, so the whole time I was there, I kind of resisted that. But it wasn't until like in my 20s when I started attending Unity that I fully understand the truth and the power of that. So here's the key. And yes, I am throwing a lot of metaphors out there again, and it is a habit of mine. And whether or not that needs to be addressed and healed, my dependence on so many metaphors, I guess, let me know. Um, but here's the key. In order to effectively change your thoughts, you have to have faith that you can. As a kid, I did not have faith in snap decisions, so I could not do it. But now I do have faith, and I change my thoughts all the time. And oh my God, oh my grandfather, it makes a huge difference in my life, all for the better. I tell you, my struggles with getting Facebook and Zoom to be nice to each other really triggered me hard because most of the time it was completely out of my control. But each time I caught myself condemning myself and messing it up again, I caught myself and I did what I needed to do to get back on center. I didn't necessarily use the snap technique, but I did what it took. I did prayer, I did meditation, and my favorite, journaling until I could more easily be feel centered and focus on those thoughts that I wanted to embrace. So we all need to own our thoughts and that we chose them and we can change them. I got some fun examples here. Because really, most people don't have any idea that they can change their thoughts. I mean, imagine this. Oh, I hate it when I punch myself. You know, someday I'm gonna stop punching myself. Excuse me, sir. You're punching yourself. You could stop. Nah. Yeah, someday I'll stop. Gosh, sounds crazy, but I think it's just like that. Here's another good example. Oh, I gotta stop eating donuts. You know, but they taste so good. I know. I'm gonna wait until donuts stop tasting so good, and then I'll stop eating donuts. Like that's gonna happen. In both those cases, neither person owned their thoughts. Someone else made them punch themselves in the face. Someone else made those donuts so darn tasty that they don't, they're powerless. Yes, it is easier said than done, but it is also done when you say it. That is a good quote. I wonder who said that. Hold on a second. Mm-hmm. Person who said that was Stephen Hayes in 2025. All right. So, what do I mean by that changing your thoughts requires faith? I mean, you have to make a decision to live this truth, even if you don't understand how it works. I'm going to go and give you at least one or two cultural references. Um, I mean, I love the nature example and obviously getting quotes from the Fillmores in the Bible, but I also do like movie quotes, especially my favorite movie quotes. So here we have a scene from the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark, The Last Crusade. And our hero is told to step across this chasm and walk across the air to the other side to get the Holy Grail. Um, but he didn't see how he was going to do it. I mean, he did have the incentive that people would die if he did not, but he did not see any way, anything other than a 3,000-foot drop that he had to magically walk across. Okay, spoiler alert here on the movie. Um, he did step out and he did not fall. It turns out there was a bridge there, but it was perfectly clear, and he was able to walk across on that clear bridge. So his faith did not create the bridge, but his faith enabled him to step out past his fears and past his limited thinking, beyond the thinking of the world. I love a good movie reference. Um, I wonder if the Fillmores ever did movie references. Um, I haven't come across it, but hopefully I will. Not that it's required. I have two friends, two of my best friends that are stuck in their ways of thinking. One is very, very judgmental, always pointing out what's wrong with the world and constricting why he's doing it. And the other person's very cautious and fear-based and like overly hesitant. And they both desperately want to change. because they realize as adults that being judgmental and being fearful isn't good for you. And I've known both these people for 30 plus years. And because I've been in unity for 30 plus years, I've told them over and over again, gosh, the judgment and the fear, it's not good for your soul. So they want to change, but they want to see the bridge across the chasm before they step out. They are waiting for something outside of themselves to make them change their thinking. They don't own the power that they have to change their own thoughts. They are waiting for donuts to stop tasting so good. The one friend, mine subconsciously, mind you, um, one time I was walking with him on his property, and there was a fence that was all broken down. He was like, "That darn fence, and the homeowners association should fix that. Rigger." And he's asked me like, "Hey, point out when I'm being judgmental." And I'm like, "Hey, you're being judgmental. This could be a great time for you to change your thoughts." And he's like, "No, that fence is bad. So this judgment is right on point." Okay. Oh, people don't want to stop eating donuts because they taste so good. People don't want to stop feeling being judgmental because it feels so good, even though it is so tragic. My other friend uh, wanted me to go on a trip with her to Europe, and I'm like, I'm in. Let's do it. Let's figure it out. Um, but subsequently, I think we spent weeks just figuring out how to get past of all the things that could possibly go wrong. And we never actually got too much detail about what we were going to actually do, just mostly avoiding what things we are going to be avoiding. And so I had an epiphany one day. I'm like, I am not spending thousands of dollars to go on a tour, a fear-based tour of Europe. So I canceled that trip, and I felt really sad because I love this friend. All right, here is another quote from Charles Fillmore. Thoughts are things. They have tremendous power. Thoughts of doubt and fear are pathways to failure. When you conquer negative attitudes of doubt and fear, you conquer failure. Thoughts crystallize into habit, and habit solidifies into circumstances. So cut it off in the beginning. Just choose to have those thoughts so they don't uh, cascade into your life in a very real way. I know. How about a book reference? And I'm not talking about the Bible, which definitely is the ultimate reference. I'm talking about a book. Let me see if I can bring it up. The Crystal Cave by Mary Stewart. And I'm not being flippant here. This book had a huge effect on my life. It just changed my whole paradigm. The book is about Merlin, that's was on the cover there, and King Arthur. And Merlin in this book is not powerful because he's a son of a god or the son of a dragon. Merlin gets his power because he is willing to always change his perspective and see everything in a different light. His ability to change his perspective gives him his power, which seems like magic. His power is based on his ability to change his perception. Sound familiar? Oh my God. Did you know Merlin was a Fillmorian? For real though, this book and this concept opened up my life. That I could have magic in my life just by changing my perspective. I mean, I'll never be a son of a dragon or son of some god, but I can absolutely change my perspective in the here and now. We all can do this. Let me give you an example is that Merlin, when he looked at anything like a tree, he never saw it as separate from anything else. He always had the perspective of oneness. Where have we heard that? Hmm. Gosh, Jesus talked about that, and the Fillmores talked about that. It's a matter of choosing your perspective and not waiting for the world to change it for you. Steve, this is all well and good, but how does this help with the stress that I'm feeling in this world? I mean, careers are one thing, relationships another, but the world is stressful. Ah, I don't know what Charles, let's see what Charles had to say about that. Uh, uh, uh. The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. In other words, you can't wait for the world to stop being stressful to not be stressed about it. Sounds simple, right? But we all are just so many people are stressed about the world. Well, guess what? Change your thought and your perspective on it. Don't let the world dictate your thoughts. Ah, all right, that's the first half, the first fold. So everyone just take a breath. That was a lot of information. And I'm going to take a quick break because I'm going to go get some donuts. I'll be right back. True power comes from putting spirit first and being persistent in the face of challenges. I was going to wait until next week to get into this and have you guess what the second part was, but I figured I had time today and I would jump into it. So let's go into a quote, like I always like to start off with. I think it's this one. Yes, remember this quote? My one of my favorite quotes. When you truly go to the Christ within yourself instead of your own thoughts, you will receive whatever you need. And unless you heed this instruction, drop the unwise things that you have been insisting upon and begin to think of God in you and about you as the total fullness of every good, you will seem to go through an eternity of confusion and lack and hungering. So I am repeating this, but it is so relevant. At a glance, you might think that this undoes what I just talked about because it says, when you truly go to the Christ within instead of your own thoughts. But if you look at it, it then immediately tells you that you need to be conscious in your thoughts. So it's not telling you not to think, it's saying to always start with spirit first. It's the order that is the key because your thoughts are like your ego. You don't get rid of your ego, you just don't make it the master of your life. Yeah. When I think of hunger and lack of and hungry and confusion, I actually went to a coffee shop a few weeks ago that was out of coffee. Can you believe that? I'm like, so every time I read that quote, if you don't put spirit first, you will always go to coffee shops that have no coffee. Ah! I know it's a harsh example, but I think it very conveys the seriousness of it. Basically, if you insist on your thoughts and they're not first rooted in spirit, then you'll end up in those coffee shops that don't have any coffee. But you can see here, Myrtle says, goes on to say what we think. We must be positive. And do we wait until the world is positive to think positive? No, we think positive from the get go. You can change those in a snap if you just embrace your power. There's another quote, a new one, mind you, that I have not shared yet. I do have a goal of not repeating um, quotes more than I have to. Let's see if I have it. Yes. Spirit is supreme and we are its servants. Thoughts are our tools and they are our servants. And that was by, oh, Stephen Hayes, 2025. Okay, let me go in skeptical mode again. Okay, Steve, I got it. Spirit first, thought second. But there is some vagueness here. What, after all, does putting spirit first really mean? When I put spirit first, what am I doing? Give that man a cookie. Good question, sir. Well, um, rather than just getting one more quote from either Charles or Fillmore, I went to a friend of mine, which is Google AI, and I asked him, "What does it mean to put spirit first?" And I think Google AI is a good thing, not like its evil twin, Chat GBT, because Google AI doesn't come up with content. It summarizes it, and for me at least, and it gives all the links right to the right of the summary so that you can go to those links. So when I asked it, what does it mean to live your life from spirit first? It said this. In Fillmore Unity, putting spirit first means prioritizing spiritual understanding and connection over material concerns in the physical world. It involves recognizing the inherent divinity within oneself and others and living in alignment with spiritual principles. Spiritual understanding prioritized over worldly understanding. This means if you have a conflict with someone, before diving into who said what and who the devil incarnate is, mind you, I don't believe in the devil incarnate, but we often like to think there's devil incarnate. Before analyzing a situation, we check in with spirit first. But Steve, checking in with spirit, that's vague too. Okay. Let's break it down even more. Checking in with spirit means one, praying. Like, okay, I'm just about to go into a tough conversation or into a tough meeting. Spirit, guide me. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but you're going to show me. So putting first, checking with spirit means praying, and then asking what spiritual principles apply to the situation. For example, I was in a group, I'm in actually a spiritual based group, theoretically spiritual group, and we had a big conflict in the group. But instead of stopping and praying and asking, "Hey, what did Jesus say here? What are our teachings and what do we comply?" People went straight for the judgment and straight for condemnation because they wanted to keep things in order and in control. That was sad for me, but we worked on it. What's an example of a spiritual principle that group could have come up with if they had checked in? The use of empathy and compassion. And that means that we all could share our feelings and needs. And then once we knew each other's needs and our feelings, we could work together because we'd have a greater awareness of our needs. Whereas judgment just makes enemies of each other and drastically reduces the chance of actually resolving conflict. So empathy and compassion would have been a good um, tool to use in that moment. Usually, when I pray before something like this, it's often in the silence. And I'll tell you, Spirit loves when we spend time in the silence. If you're a scientist like me, you know how nature abhors a vacuum. Like if you make a vacuum, whoa, nature really shoots air and whatever right into it. So nature abhors a vacuum. Spirit, on the other hand, loves a vacuum because you are making space for spirit in the silence. So putting spirit first, prayer, what principles, and then seeing the good in all things. So again, if you're in conflict with five people, go through and just literally visualize the Christ in each person. And this can really help you come from a spiritual perspective rather from a judgmental perspective and expect to see the good. I have to give my hat, if I had a hat, off to my former boss, Santisha Groveland, spiritual leader at Unity of Boulder, because she would often tell us to say, when something goes wrong, I can't wait to see the good that will come out of this. That's a wonderful concept. But the wild thing is that Santisha actually did that. She had developed that habit. And I haven't developed that habit, but I'm going to. And it's helpful to have people like that to inspire you. But what an amazing coincidence that the concept of seeing the Christ and the good in all things ties back to that original Fillmore quote. Remember, it talks about, you got to do this and begin to think of God in you and about you as a total fullness of every good. After checking with spirit, you need to have a thought of total good. And if you don't, all your coffee shops will have no coffee or Wi-Fi. Myrtle called that. I mean, who wants to be in a place with no coffee and no Wi-Fi? Okay, she didn't say that last part. I just wanted to keep the metaphor going. Okay, so putting first, spirit first is praying, what discerning what principles, and then seeing the good in everyone. Put on that lens of goodness, not rose-colored glasses, but spiritually colored glasses. Your choice. It's your choice to do that. Ooh, I don't want to go back to punching my face. I love this topic of each of us having the power because it matches the principles here at Fillmore Church of practicality and application to the here and now. And if you haven't figured out this concept of true power in your is yours, can apply to anything. For example, I stubbed my toe. I'm good at stubbing my toes. That's one of my superpowers. I didn't actually stub my toe. I caught it on the leg of a table, which is worse. I'm sure you can relate to that. And um, but uh, oh my God, oh my grudgingly resistant soul just wants to scream and swear, which it's good to vent a little bit. But when you catch yourself off, even from stubbing your toe, it's you can center yourself and say, "Okay, Spirit, I'm open. What do I need to learn here?" And what came to me, I'm like, wow, I really do need to slow down because if I keep up this fast pace, I'm going to slam into things or miss really important things. And what spiritual principle can I apply here? What affirmation maybe? I move at the pace of spirit is what I came up with. Hmm. And lastly, what is the thought that I want to embrace or what comes to me? And that is, yes, I need to slow down because what I'm doing, there's a lot of details and I don't want to miss any of those details. Wow, look at this. By putting spirit first, I also receive guidance on what to think. Spirit is so darn brilliant when we listen to it. So go out there and claim your power to change your thoughts and therefore change the world. Own your thoughts. Don't let the world dictate what you think. Don't let other people tell you what to think. And don't wait for the world to change before you change your thinking. In fact, it won't change until we all change our thinking. And when you find yourself in that dark, dark coffee shop that has no coffee, after venting, screaming, don't plan your vengeance. Don't go post a super negative Google review, but instead say to yourself, I can't wait to see the good that will come out of this situation. So I'm going to do one more summary here. At the highest level, let me see if I can bring that up. Haha. Well, I think I got that one. I want to do even higher. True power is yours because one, your thoughts are all powerful and you can always change them. And two, true power comes from putting spirit first in all things. And that, my friends, is what Spirit guided me to share today. Please share your comments and feedback, your questions through our website. I haven't quite got that rhythm down, but I'm working on it, and such that I can respond quicker. But thank you and blessings. All right. So next, I'm going to ask for a donation, and ask for your presence. Eventually, there'll be a lot of ways you can participate. Like eventually, I'll need an assistant for the Zoom calls to handle chat, um, and maybe help organize classes. Um, but you can very easily go to our website and uh, seek out ways to help in sacred service or give by just clicking that button. So get involved or give or scan that QR code. And remember, you're not just giving to the Fillmore Church, but a very large part of everything we receive goes to the larger Fillmore faith community, which is awesome. So let me go ahead and see if I can remember off the top of my head, because I didn't put in my notes and I'm still learning, our affirmation. Thank you, Spirit, for the opportunity to be in your flow. For we know that it is in giving that we receive, that in being service we thrive, and it is with dedication that we shine. Thank you, Spirit, for the blessings on this community, all its participants, all its endeavors, and its impact on the world. Amen. All right. So that is, oh, no. Gosh, I almost forgot my favorite part, which is field notes. I always like to focus on a very practical tool with a short little clip. And I probably will move these clips out of the service because there's too much information. But for today, I have another tool to share with you from beautiful Colorado. And the name of this one is My Contract. So hold on while I get that real quick. Hello, this is Steve out in the field to focus on yet another very in the moment tool that we can use. And I'm actually not in this spot. I'm hiking to the spot that I want to use for today's tool, but it's just so beautiful. I had to stop and maybe start the video from here. Okay, I think I found my example that I was looking for out here in the field, and it is this plant that is sitting right in the middle of the trail. And so I need to stop and restart here. Hold on. This plant right here, the name of this tool and of this example is My Contract, which, as with a lot of things that I say, is not what you expect. My contract is to never compare your life with anyone else's life. That it's worse, that it's better, or even why am I here? You know, a lot of people in our community might think that God placed us just where we're supposed to be. And then why waste any time? Because God placed us here. Other people think it's random. Well, if it's random, then don't spend any time thinking about why you landed here because it's random. Either way, wherever you land, there you are, and it is a total waste to compare your life to anyone else's. I mean, it could be in the center of this trail, it's all dry and the river's 200 feet away, but this plant doesn't even think twice. It just gives its all. And actually, I was so glad to see this plant because the trail was so plain. It's like this plant took upon itself to show up here. So I guess that's the third option. God, random, or you chose it yourself. But even then, if you choose it for your life yourself, you chose it. No use bemoaning it because you're in it. I got to give credit to Joel Osteen here, who I think is a unity minister in wolf's clothing, in Christian's clothing, in a good way. But he presented this idea about each of us has our own contract, and we are showing up to learn about life in that contract. Don't waste any energy on who else you could be or could be or should be. I mean, set goals and make the best, but you are where you are. And now I have to stop talking because I see a bicyclist running toward me. And my contract is not to get hit by a bicycler. And this is a picture of a prairie dog. It has nothing to do with the tool. I just think it's cool. So a little interlude there. See, the prairie dog is thinking about his life. Gosh, do I have a good life? Do I have a bad life? Why am I here? He could be just getting down and eating instead of worrying about where he is and what's happening. Okay, it does relate to my tool, I guess. All right, lastly, here's another good example. Look at that trail behind me. It goes for miles way off to the horizon. I could bemoan that I have this huge path in front of me. Like, how did I end up here? Or I could just think, oh my gosh, I live in Colorado with blue sky and green and animals all around me. I could shift my perspective, change my thoughts, and make a big difference. So, my contract, another essential tool here at Fillmore Church. If you have any questions about this, or you want to challenge it, or send me a message, bring it on. Okay, blessings. All right, that is indeed the end of our service. Although if you want to stay for a few more minutes, I always like to play dance song. And because to pray is one thing, to pray and sing is to pray, singing is to pray twice. And I would say moving in the flow of spirit is like praying 3 times. So thank you for coming here today, and stay for another minute or so if you want to hear a good dance song, which I usually try to make it relate to the topic of the day. So let me get the background ready. The song is by a group called the Information Society.
But we're not out yet.
I wanna know what you're thinking. There are some things you can't hide. I wanna know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind.
Very 80s.
Pure energy. Pure energy.
We are pure energy.